No.
Hello and welcome to Foundry Files, episode 37. I am Admiral Murphy, God of the Foundry.
Hardly. I'm weary and I
Neil,
debate everything that he's saying today because he's wrong.
What?
Anyway.
I'm wrong. Wow.
Okay. Well, we'll get into the exact details
So
later
much
on.
after you.
Episode 37. So, I think it's 37, isn't it? Yeah, it's 37.
38 next week is the 1 year anniversary. I announced it on Twitter.
Yeah.
People were quite surprised. I guess people...
You never thought 38 would be associated with 1 year, would you?
No.
It's just like a number nobody cares about.
38, man. Gets a lot of bad, whatever. But yeah, actually, I got a lot of tweets back. It's like, really? 1 year? I thought you guys been out longer for that. I guess if you count Stoked, yeah, we've been out, what, two and a half years?
Those were just segments of the show, right? They're not really episodes, they're just reviews.
Yeah,
the actual
and we
itself,
missed many weeks.
So
we actually, we still missed a few weeks with the show format. Hopefully we don't miss as many for the next year. But anyway, we're going to be talking about the last year Foundry Files and the next year Foundry Files next episode. But as of right now, there's some stuff going on in the Foundry, so that we'll get some Foundry news out before we review Monolith by Haverhaw in this week's review. But unless you have anything you want to say, should we hit the news?
I think we should just get straight into it.
So there isn't major like Foundry news, except epohhs on Tribble are no longer labeled as squirrels.
It's such useful news.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? Also, Foundry was turned off on Tribble, so you can't check that.
And Gold Players can only go on Tribble right now anyway, so even I can't check it.
Yeah, you can't check it. Wait till leave wee out. That's half the show there. I'm just saying. Actually, I'm curious to see. I guess they want to keep the... Did they do that last Tribble test where it was only gold players that could get on for a while?
No, I don't know why they're doing it this time. There might be one or two features which they don't want people to see, the silver players to see, or it might be a sort of like a new perk they're putting in for gold players, because for a really long time, since the beginning of the game, lifetimes and subscribers have been saying basically we need more exclusive perks, especially when free to play came around. And I think this might be one of them.
The problem is when you target new players all the time, those new players eventually become old players, and then they feel left out. You're not gonna. Eventually, you'll go through everybody on planet Earth that could be a new player.
This is probably some kind of strategy or something. I don't know, but silver players will be getting to eventually, so people like me will be able to get on eventually. But I think initially, for the first couple of weeks, only gold players can get on, and there's nothing really interesting on there anyway, apart from a few system changes.
It's just we feel
right now it's not really that worth it.
Yeah, season 8's probably going to be coming out anyway, so that's why I think a lot of people are looking at that because they're excited for it. That
triple patch was the very early initial push of season 8. Mainly those features are coming to season 8. And you'll probably see more along the line, according to Brandon. That's why Redshirt was turned on, because it's going to be like the old Tribble, where everything goes solid.
I never got that, why they needed the old Tribble and the new one. I never understood that. It's weird. But anyway, let's get into this Foundry featured episode series that was announced this week. And surprisingly, there is controversy, is that a word? Yeah, on this show about it. I don't know why, but Wee does. So, well, first of all, what is this? So we've gotten a bunch of Foundry authors together who've made a 6-part Federation series called the Purity series, I guess. And our authors responsible for this are Kirk Fat, Captain PF Dennis, Zorbane, Drogan 1701, Casmodian, Relatime 82, Rogue Enterprise, Cerberus Films, and Bazag. So a lot of authors we've heard.
Everyone
before.
over at UGC.
Yeah,
in other words.
I think there might be a few
So
missing, but
it's a good collaboration effort over at UGC, and it's good to fancy something like this, getting like sort of like promoted from those
it's been
guys.
talked about for
those,
years.
Those are really good guys. They make a lot of good missions over there. I'm looking forward to the series. Half so. I'll tell you why. Right, because you guys probably know by now. I'm a Klingon player. I don't know. I'm not complaining.
Wait, what's a Klingon?
So much that this is a Klingon exclusive series. I'll be happy if this was called a Federation episode series, but it's called a feature episode series, and feature episodes are for all factions, even Romulans. Only Fromulans can play this with the Federation. So yeah.
Wait, are you arguing?
It says in the dev blog it'll debut for Federation players.
Arguing?
Last time I checked. Okay, then feature episodes were specifically designed for Fed players in the beginning.
Yeah, because I was going to say the Davinian
but then they were converted over
series.
for Klingon players. But at the same time, they're still for all factions.
I don't know. I don't like playing the Davinian
I'm saying
series
this.
on my
I'm
Klingon.
only saying this because I'm a Klingon player as well, probably. But either way, I don't like the technical term for this. It's just
Well,
it just rings me the wrong way. I prefer if it was something called else.
I will partially agree with you. It would have been fine for me if they just said Federation featured Foundry series. Actually, I like that a little more than featured episode series.
That's
It's a little misleading when you see featured episode series. I will agree, because at first I was like, "What? A new featured episode series?" I thought it was it's a Foundry featured episode series. Probably just been featured Foundry series. But the other thing I will argue with you, yeah, the technical term of Foundry episode, I guess it could be both factions, though I'm still arguing Davidians was not meant for Klingons. The other thing I will argue is, what did featured episode series mean right off the bat? Weekly content. That never happened. We never got featured episodes on a weekly basis ever since they plugged it like that. In fact, there was a year gap between this weekly content. So the featured episode term is highly debated on its own.
Technically yes and technically no. During the run of a feature episode series there was, but then they took a break for
But they never said there'd be a break.
Yes
that
and
was
no.
the thing.
There is debatable on that front, to be honest, but yeah, a year is kind of bad without feature episodes. And like I said, it's good that this is coming in, and to be honest, I would prefer if it was a Klingon series, because there's a huge lack of Klingon content compared to Fed content right now.
We looked at that number.
Especially in the Foundry as well.
We looked at that number. It was like 98%, right?
Was it Kirkvat was on the release of stats? Was it?
Yeah.
Like 98% of all Klingon missions are grind missions. That's not good.
No.
So
but
we need more series.
Feds were only a little
like
bit
this,
better.
and there's probably a good plot line around this. I'm actually looking forward to playing this, despite my reservations about it. It's just a few technical terms, and it being Federation rubs me the wrong way, and that's only because I'm a Klingon player. So it's just...
I don't know. Here, I'll give you some advice. Take that anger and frustration and throw that into the no Romulan Foundry mission debate, because we want to make our Romulan missions.
Well, this was kind of sound really bad. I don't probably get a lot of bad stuff saying to me about this, but I really don't care about Romulan missions.
That's it. I quit.
I really don't. I think I care about making good Klingon missions, and even that I accuse myself of not doing that because I simply can't write a good one in my opinion.
I guess it's just we're in a state right now where we're not getting much Foundry news or news on a whole from Cryptics. It's been kind of slow, and we're kind of been sitting around for a while, just kind of waiting for new Foundry stuff. And when we've been expecting this new thing and it's announced, that's not going to happen. That's going to get a lot of Foundry authors up in arms. And we still, as of this week, have not had any clarification. We've asked for it, but none as yet. So hopefully there's some clarification.
So was really slowed down since Legacy Romulus. I mean, Legacy Romulus was the big, huge push, and I can understand them taking quite a bit of a break considering what they were doing and how much they were doing in those few months leading up to it. I mean, huge work, 6 days, weeks, almost like 24 hours or something for a few people. I mean, huge. They deserve a break, but it's really slowed down, and Romulan Shiny is kind of rough now. We're all getting used to it, and we're expecting new things. The feature episode will probably help, but it's kind of been not as much of a build-up, I think, for people to actually get excited about it. I mean, there was a screenshot, which makes it look exciting.
There was a little
We've got
trailer thrown
got the
together.
new fleet holding. I think it was mentioned in Vegas coming. The Voss Spire, the Dyson Sphere Spire, and then
The problem is
the
we're not being
Foundry's not
talked
really
to.
going much where else, is it really? We haven't heard much about it apart from the Romulan thing.
And the problem is it's been like that for quite a while, and we're going to get into heavy discussion next episode about our view of how the Foundry has evolved to where it's at now, and then our predictions. That will be next week.
From a year ago at the very least, yeah, because a year ago it was a different place. We didn't have some of the features. I mean, a year ago we had the import costume creator. No, we don't.
That kind of stinks. But
it's like I really want that back in.
But at least the good thing here is this is getting spotlighted both on the Cryptic website, so it's drawing eyes to that for Foundry. I just saw it on StarTrek.com, so Foundry's getting eyes over there, which even people who don't play STO see that over there.
STO's gotten quite a presence on StarTrek.com. Their regular dev blogs are being posted.
I know every guest blog gets over there.
It's good that STO is actually being promoted on the actual StarTrek website itself.
Yeah, because for a while there, it wasn't. It was like weird. It was like, this is a Star Trek thing, guys. It's not even JJ. I know half of you hate JJ. This isn't him. But yeah, and so the only thing I hope to see is that this is plugged in game like the events and stuff. Because the problem with the Foundry is, it's not plugged in game much. So if you could get that plugged like on the right hand side where it was always like, here's the summer event, that'd be really cool to see. So hopefully that is done.
I'm not sure. They might do that. They might not.
Sadly, I don't think they are.
It depends how they classify an event. To be honest, because as far as I know, they would only classify an event if they made it. If they promoted it. This is a specifically user-made thing, and I'm not entirely sure. Hopefully they will, but I just don't know.
They put the featured episodes up there that they make in that spot when that event's going on. So hopefully
special events like the Jem'Hadar attack ship in the lockbox recently, or new lockboxes, or summer events, or winter events, or feature episodes, that kind of a things. Just little special events that they make. I haven't really seen any sort of Foundry stuff up there.
At least not yet, but that doesn't mean they can't do it.
Maybe they can't do it. You're right. Maybe they can't do it. Maybe the tech's not good enough. I don't know. Whatever the reason. I think this devlog is probably it's probably the most amount of promotion this thing can get. Yeah. And a lot of people have probably already seen it by now, and hopefully they know about the time mission when it's going to be released, 1st of October. Which coincidentally when our 1 year anniversary episode comes out.
So we won't get the review in that week though, because I think we were recording before the 1 year. But afterwards we do plan on hitting this series over the course of the month. And I'm expecting it to be pretty good. I mean, we've got people like Rogue Enterprise on this list too. I love his missions. So there's some good Foundry authors writing for this. So yeah. I'll be curious to see where it goes.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, despite everything I said about it so far, I'm actually looking forward to it, and hopefully enjoy it.
But why don't we talk about a mission that is out there right now? Monolith.
On to our review this week, the Monolith by Havra, I think it is, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is one of the guys over at UC, which we just mentioned, and as of this recording, it has a 4.05 average star rating and 111 players. So not really that many players. So it's kind of an iffy with the star rating, but so far it's pretty much where every other mission is in the Foundry.
Wait, did you just call a 4-star rating iffy if? When every other mission we've played is a 4-star rating?
Well, compared to the amount of players it's had, it could be debatable whether it's supposed to be there or not. It probably is, and it probably could be higher. I don't know. You haven't had more players yet.
But anyway, yeah, this was made by Havra. If you don't know who he is, where were you like 4 episodes ago?
Or every Star Wars UGC episode for like 2 years.
But anyway, yeah, so we played Monolith this week, so why don't we just roll in and discuss this mission, because I did quite enjoy this. I don't know about Wee Wee, he might have hated it, but we'll find out what he thought. So, 2 leaders of an archaeological dig on a Vulcan-Romulan reunificationist colony have been unable to cooperate, and it's up to you to investigate, because the Federation is funding this dig, and you need to get the dig back on track. However, there's more going on here than a simple disagreement. Boy, is there more going on here than a simple disagreement. This plot is excellent because you really don't have an idea where this mission's going to go. You just go, okay, I'm going to solve a dispute. No. you are going to jump head on into a major conflict in this mission. So it's an excellent story with that.
If you find yourself jumping in this kind of situation, like a farming colony or a new colony that's only like 30 years old, I think it was.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is not the mission. This is something to distract you from what the real stuff is.
You immediately know it's going to go somewhere, but you're like, but where?
It's like, where's it going? You have to put the different clues together. So it's important you actually pay attention in this case, because otherwise you'll probably miss a few things.
Yeah, and so there's two big things I really enjoyed about the plot of this mission. One, it's an excellent story on an alien race that hasn't been done before, at least not as effectively as this mission does. So that's really nice to see, especially for this race, because we don't hear a lot of story from it. So that's a cool thing that you can look forward to there. But also, it has a great Star Trek commentary on an issue that comes up quite a bit, at least over here in the US. And so that's a part I really like, because when in Stodu we really get those moments that Star Trek is so famous for, where it's like questioning our society norms or stuff like that. And so this mission does have a little bit of that there.
Yeah, you were telling me before the show there's quite a few things that relate back to the US and all that kind of stuff. I personally wouldn't understand it because I'm not from there.
He's from where? France, right?
So it's a little more difficult, but I did pick up a couple of things. It's like just general, like one in a million something happens. It's like looking back to history, people do things that nobody expects and it works, or something like that. Something along those lines. You can kind of relate maybe to that in this mission, I think, a bit.
Yeah, that's actually a great point for characters, because we really did think the characters were really good. I mean, these are some of my favorite characters, especially with the reappearance of Helena. But yeah. Yeah. Actually, touching on that, when they said that the archaeologist was like unavailable, and it said the next most qualified officer, I immediately thought of Helena. And it's like even if I didn't, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, and I just like turned my head away, and I'm like, I should have expected that. I like that the Orion showed up too. If you watched our Mud review, I think we made a few comments about what
I was actually quite surprised he showed up. Oh yeah,
that was our first episode for Mud's Weapons, so go back and watch that. That was a good one too. But yeah, so I like that you brought that point. You didn't believe the alien character we encountered here would actually do what they're doing, just because of your overall thought of this alien race. And then you go to think, well, wait, not everybody of a race or a species is going to act the same way. So that was a really cool thing to think about. I mean, that's another issue there.
He's one of those guys where it's once in a generation, there's always somebody who does something different. And this is one of those. I don't like it, considering what the species is, but it works.
It does. It really does.
I don't like it at all, but it works.
Man, are you claiming to be alien racist there, Wee?
I'm not even going to go
All right, so let's move into dialogue there. This is a heavy dialogue mission. I mean, heavy. There is a lot of reading. In fact, I think there's a point where you get like the longest dialogue conversation ever written.
The initial dialogue was actually quite wally. It was just sort of like it was like this little sentence, and then all of a sudden there's this massive wall of text that's like that long.
And there's lots of there are periods where there are lots of dialogue boxes. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because I didn't mind it for my review of this mission, because I felt the dialogue was really well written and there was a good variety between characters, so it didn't seem like you were reading the same style over and over. But for people who may not want to read as much, that could be a problem there, because this is a long mission. It clocks in at over an hour, I'd say. I think I played it an hour and a half. I know it was over an hour. I don't know how long did it take you to finish.
I can't remember now. It was definitely a bit of a time. I think it was at least half an hour, 45 minutes. Maybe around that mark, maybe slightly longer. It definitely wasn't less, because I spent at least half an hour in it.
Yeah, I know. One of the major complaints I heard from people when this first came out was the length, but I was so drawn into the story and how it was progressing that the length didn't really bother me. Now, if you have somewhere to go and you're rushing to finish it before you go somewhere, that might be a problem. But other than that, you should be drawn into the story. That it's really enjoyable. But there's some great canon usage here with lots of touchstoning on various races and lore, like the Romulans and the Vulcans and the other races that will appear up in this mission. And that was really cool to see, too. Are we mentioning the ships?
Well, we're not going to say what the ships are, what species belong to, but there is a rather interesting and rather sort of like, well, why didn't we think of that before moment, where the alien basically says, we don't like the way you call our ships.
You make us feel dumb.
And it's like, well, you give us these terms which they're not really, and it's like, that's a very good point. If you think about it, how many of the species would think of it that way. I mean, things like an egg bar, Klingon based. It's like you call it that because the Klingons call it that, and they tell you that.
But what if we didn't know what they called it?
But ships, for example, maybe like the Undine, we call them Nikor cruisers in here. Maybe they don't like that or something. Maybe other species like that don't like that or something. So it's like, well, that's a good point. We never thought of that before, and it actually addresses it in this mission. It's like, I don't know what I expected.
I liked that part because I really hated the naming for those ships anyway. So I was like, thank you, I love this. But anyways, that's a cool little touchstone there. And then there's tons of lore from episodes and stuff. But if we tell you what it is, you'll catch on to what this story's going to be about. There are no grammar and spelling errors. Story clocks in at a 9.43. Number 3 in story. I would have to agree. I'm liking this lore because I'd honestly go, my favorite has always been City of the Palmari. This one I'd have to put at a close second, at least for me. I really enjoyed this mission. There's a lot going on here. So as a story fan, you'll really enjoy it. So, shall we move on to technical then, Lou?
I think we should,
All right, so there's some good map usage here with some customization. Most of the maps, though, will be pre-made, so do go into expecting that. There's a few where there's a little more customization put in, like the colony comes to mind and stuff like that. And you know what, I like the space map too, but a lot of it is going to be pre-made, like going through caves and buildings and such. So do keep in mind for that. You're not going to see like a map that's going to blow you away. Transitions are fine, but some of the maps had very little to do. I think there's one map you go to where it's just dialogue.
Well, one map, it was actually the initial space map you have to go to where you fly to the planet. All you do is you warp in, you talk to your bridge officers, and you go to a reach marker when you're being down.
Yeah. And you know what? If this was an actual stove mission where we didn't have long loading times, they do that quite a bit. I guess it just only hurts because you do get stuck with long loading time. I didn't have a major issue with that, but I could see somebody going, oh man, I have to sit at a loading screen after I just sat at one.
Yeah, loading screens are quite a bit of an issue for some people, and it's usually a good idea to avoid them just in case, because even for people who don't mind it, can actually find themselves a little bit frustrated if there are too many. Mm-hmm. And this is just underlining that it's just before that border, but it's close to it, I think.
So, technique here, there was a bit of a disagreement or it was debated between the two of us. I'll let Wee go first. What was your thought of technique here?
Well, the way I saw technique, it kind of linked into story and gameplay at the same time as tech. But the underlying like initial thing of it was technical. The placement of the objects and the interactions on the map itself. Now, the story relates to this of why they're there, and the gameplay interacts with this of running to it. But the technical reason is because you put them there in the first place. I'll touch on this in the gameplay a bit later as well, but there is quite a bit of running involved in this mission. You do have to run quite a bit of a length, especially around the colony. The colony itself, it looks fine. It's well built. You can completely understand where it is, but at the same time, it can be a little bit immersion breaking sometimes for some people. I'd say it's not fun running that such a distance. Really, the long corridor from a couple of missions ago kind of reminds me of this mission. To be honest.
Strap your frost boots on though, and you can have some fun there. I just thought of that. Get your frost boots out. That'd be sweet. But so I was fine with the technique. Running didn't really bother me, but again, I think that was just because story was blowing me away. Now, the other thing I want to give technique a really good boost on is triggers. There are a lot of great triggers in this mission for explosions and things appearing and stuff like that. So you're going to have some pretty cool trigger usage in this mission. So that's going to be really cool to see there. Great asset usage in this mission to create like different structures and alter the maps in the mission. The monolith in this mission, because everybody, if you've seen the trailer, and I think he made a trailer, or at least the plugin, you've seen this. It looks sweet. I love how he's constructed this thing. So when you come,
well, it's like the name of the mission's the monolith. It's like something to do with the monolith. It's like if you don't pick up on that, then why?
Yeah, what do you think?
But there is another one or two objects in there that really sort of like really define it. Part of this mission for technical as well. It's like it's a massive sort of tower type thing in this map, and it's sort of like all these different parts, and it's like that's really good. It's like he's blended different parts of different assets together and made something really creative and really original, and I really like that.
Yeah, that was really sweet to see. And then user up was fine. I think the only thing we picked up on was a few minor like waypoints were too small to see at sometimes, but that was about it. I don't think there was anything else.
Yeah, that was kind of a Foundry limitation. A lot of us, in fact, probably all of us, Foundry missions have encountered that at some point. Even cryptic missions encountered that at one point in Colosseum, I think. So it's something we just can't help, unfortunately.
Yep. And so then the major Foundry limitation in this mission has to be the NPC movement. Again, this is another one of those missions where it's affected by the NPC can't follow you around, but for the story, it's kind of needed. The workaround is you take the NPC, you just have them disappear and reappear somewhere else, like has been done before. But it would make more story sense if Haverhaw would have had the ability to have the NPC follow.
It would take quite a bit of an advanced sort of workaround, a bit like we saw with Rogue Enterprise in that mission once.
Yeah.
To have the contact go with you, because that entirely relies on where you're going rather than where the NPC is going. So it does take a bit of an advanced trick to do that. So I can see why he didn't do that. Probably because he doesn't know how to do that or something. Because it is an advanced trick, so I wouldn't really expect too much from that right now.
But technical scored a 6.64, or 34th ranked in technical. Now that's not. It's a fine score. It's not like super high. I don't see any major issues.
It's towards the lower end. It's all right. It's not great, and it's like I said, it's towards the lower end. So quite a bit of technical improvements could be made in this mission. Less running around, and maybe less pre-made maps. A few more stuff on the maps would have been nice. I think to generate. I suppose let it down.
But anyway, let's get into our last category, gameplay. So, what we thought of gameplay?
Well, we've already mentioned this. The initial space map was not very good at all. This really affected space game because there's only 2 space maps you actually encounter in this mission, which resulted in the space gameplay being rather weak in this mission. There's very little to do besides move to reach back in a few dialogue boxes, and that's about it. I mean, a lot of improvements needed for this part. It felt like the space map was just mainly a waste, to be honest. I mean, apart from the combat, which I'll get into in a second, there's nothing to do really, apart from just move a bit and talk to someone.
It's about 1/10 of the mission you're in space, I'd say. Like, and it's not huge story stuff.
It's mainly a ground mission, but again, when you are in space, it really could have been improved a bit, I think, actually. And like I said, there is a bit of combat in this mission. There is a single instance of any space combat, which people would like more of if you encounter it at all. But it involves a large battle with 2 factions. Won't name them what they are, but it is a good battle. I will say that the single instance is good. It's only the one mission, more nice, like I said, but story reasons prevented such an occurrence, I'd say. So there's nothing really you can do to work around that. But again, it's a good battle, and despite that, I think it would be worth it because I enjoyed myself in there, to be honest. It's mainly a ground mission rather than space, as we've already mentioned. Ground gameplay was interesting. There's a few optional interactions in dialogue boxes. Not that many, not as abundant in this mission as we've seen in other ones we reviewed, it can fill the gap between running around, but more could have been, I suppose, sufficient in some cases. I mean, there was a couple of instances where I was running between points and there wasn't any at all, or there was one I'd already missed, I'd already done before. So, yeah, again, a lot of running around, immersion breaking, putting the points closer together would have been helpful in this map. It's not very fun when you're running that far to try and get to a point and then run all the way back again just to talk to the same contact or something. And that's kind of present in this mission. So a bit of improvement on that bit, I think, could have helped, really. So generally, this combined with the combat, many instances of single combat, I think it can be fairly difficult in mob groups. Mid ground, generally, for what it is, a little bit of a letdown, because ground is the main part of this mission, and I think a lot of improvements could be made for both gameplay and combat. There's a possible instance of multi-stacking 1 or 2 places for the combat, but nothing obvious. I mean, maybe you'll like aggro another group or something, but it's not something that will actually happen, guaranteed to happen. It does actually compensate with this with a nice bit of multi-stacking, but hang on, let me redo that bit again. He does compensate with that with some nice high-level mobs rather than multi-stacking. So captain-level groups, I think, is one present. A couple of lieutenant commander groups are present. Generally, that's usually a good workaround for no multi-stacking. A 6.00 put it in 39th place for gameplay overall. So quite a bit of improvements, I'm afraid, for gameplay generally.
Yeah, I mean, I was fine with it, but yeah, I agree. This isn't like H2O Rat's mission where you're gonna have groups coming from behind mysteriously and ambushing you, then you gotta change your tactics and stuff. It's the pretty simple combat most people are used to. And if you like that, that'll be cool, but again, there's not gonna be much of a challenge. But Anyway, so what do we think overall? What's great about this mission?
Well, it definitely is a great heavy story mission for story fans. It's a must play if you're looking for a big story mission to play. Technical and gameplay both could use some improvements. I mean, they're alright, but they're on the low end, and a little bit of a disappointment, to be honest. At least from my perspective. Mm-hmm. But if you're in a lot of dialogue and story, you'll definitely enjoy this mission. And I'll Murphy enjoy this mission just for the story. Yeah. But if you want to look at an all-round mission, gameplay isn't that enjoyable, really, and the maps aren't exactly that.
Yeah, if you come at this...
Except apart from maybe one or two really creative moments where there's like a great big spiral or something.
Yeah, if you come at this where you're just like, oh, I just want to shoot stuff and I don't want to read the story at all, this probably isn't the mission for you. But if you're really going to get into the story and read all of it, great mission for you. In fact, yeah, that number 3 is very well deserved for this one. But overall, it got a 7.36 and is... Do I get a pay raise for every time we tie? I'm just wondering that.
I should, because it tied 27th for every action part 2.
Oh, so that's pretty good. For every action part 2 is a very good mission too. I quite enjoyed that one too. So a good spot on our overall mission review stuff. So I'm hoping next week we will have a review out for you guys. I hear Green Dragoon is possibly getting his next part out, so maybe that will be our 1 year. But we shall see. We don't know how long we'll talk about the state of the Foundry and all that stuff next week. And there'll be tons of cool stuff. But hey, we do hope you join us for our 1 year birthday party, because there'll be cake and pie. We promised pie. I don't know what type. Pie. He doesn't ever tell us what type. I mean, do you want to tell us this time what type of pie we're getting?
Why did we need to know what type? It's like all pie.
Well, maybe somebody is allergic to apple pie, but not peach pie or whatever.
How would you like? Apple pie is awesome.
Yeah, but what if somebody's allergic to apples? You
don't know. Then I'll have it.
Okay. Well, if you are allergic to apple pie, you can let us know at foundryfiles@gmail.com. Just also send us a Foundry mission you'd like us to review there, because of course, as we all know, the search in Stowe Foundry is kind of crummy. So it's just as equally as hard for us to find the missions as it is for you. So if you can help us out, if you've played a good mission we haven't reviewed, send it in to us there, or you can send it in over Twitter. We're both on Twitter. Well, I am. Wee isn't as much, but he has one. So you can tweet him. And
you can send it there anyway, and I'll notice it, but I never use it, so...
You should, man. You should tweet out your knowledge, like the...
I'm not one of those people. I'm not one of those people. I don't use Twitter at all, that much at all. I use it for news services, but that's about it. I never actually do anything. I never actually tweet anything.
You should. So, I'm telling you, those quotes you got, the whole advice column you do at the end of the show is great. You can make a whole Twitter for that.
Yeah, unfortunately, Bazag banned me from saying Stabwell now.
But he's making you do voiceover work.
Yeah, he's. I've already listened to what he's done so far, and it's. Well, yeah, let's just say I'm never going to do it again. Okay. There's a good reason. I think Bazag will bring out an advert for the reason why, and you'll probably understand.
So should I listen to this now? I haven't. I wanted to listen to episode 5.
Oh God. Anyway, piece of advice this week. Expect Daleks through the Stargate.
Oh yeah. There could be some Daleks exterminating through the Stargate on the planet.
Use your imagination for that.
You can go now, bye. Anyway, so 2 liters of an archaeology... That's a big word. I can't read that, guys. You can't expect me to read big words.
That's a blooper right there.